Hey man, Gary Walker here and welcome back for another video. I'm gonna give you 7 exercises you're probably doing wrong. All right, here's the thing. When it comes to doing exercises, I see so many people getting the most common exercises, the most popular exercises wrong. So here's what happens when you do an exercise incorrectly. First, you're missing out on some potential gains, all right? So you're not able to maximize the efficiency of the lift. Number 2 is you're putting yourself in a situation to possibly get injured. So in this video, it's a little bit different style video. So if you want me to break down some of these exercises even further in another video, then I would appreciate you letting me know in the comment section if there's a specific exercise that you really want to break down, because there's so many. I'm going with 7 of the most popular, but I could easily do 15 to 20 exercises and take it from someone who's been in gyms for years. I've been training for close to 35 years. I've been a fitness coach for almost 30. So I've been in this industry a long time and I've seen a ton of mistakes. All right. Also, before I get into the first exercise, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, this channel, my Gary Walker channel, because again, I am a part of another channel, but this is my personal channel, one that I take a lot of pride in, and I like to put a lot of content into this one as well. I have close to 600 videos on this channel alone. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please, I would appreciate it if you did subscribe, but only if you find value in any of my content. So with that being said, let's get into exercise number 1. And that's going to be bicep curls. So I've gone to a lot of gyms over the years. I actually worked in gyms for over 10 years. There's one thing I noticed. Most people don't do bicep curls correctly. This is one of the most popular exercises, and it seems like it should be the most simple exercise to execute. However, there are several common mistakes I see people make. So, for instance, one of the first things is people using momentum, swinging the weights up, even rocking at the hips to get the weight up. That's typically a sign of it being too heavy. Another thing, even if you're not using momentum, is driving the elbows forward. That's cheating the movement and shortening the range of motion. Another thing that I really see is people doing half reps. So not fully extending on the way down and fully going up. Another way to cheat the movement is on the way up with the dumbbell, you'll see people bringing the elbows back, shortening the range of motion. So another sign of the weight being probably way too heavy. The key to doing this exercise correctly is pinning those elbows to your sides, sticking your chest out, keep those shoulders down and depressed, and then just drive the dumbbells up. Squeeze as hard as you can, like you're trying to flex your bicep for somebody, and then control the eccentric as well. That's another common issue is people will focus on bringing the dumbbells up under control, but then drop back down to the bottom. And the eccentric phase or the lowering phase is one of the most crucial phases for more muscle growth. So that's the very first exercise I really wanted to touch on. Now, the second exercise we're going to talk about, incline curls. So yes, another bicep exercise. And this one, I don't really see as many mistakes. However, there are 2 crucial mistakes that I see that can not only hurt your shoulders, but also minimize the effectiveness of this movement. So the very first thing you'll notice is the level of the bench. So if you'll notice the angle here, my arms are straight down behind the body. So yes, you want your arms to be slightly behind the body, but not to this extreme. Because what happens when they're this far back is it's going to put a lot of stress on your anterior deltoids or the front of your shoulders. So that's one of the biggest issues, is just making sure that you're using the correct angle. The second one is on the way up, you don't want to bring your elbows forward. So if you notice when my elbows come forward, the dumbbells are directly over my elbows. So this is going to minimize of the lift. So you're basically just losing tension at the top of the movement when you do this. So you don't want to drive your elbows forward. So you'll notice here, I'm adjusting the bench. Now this is the correct angle. This is a perfect angle. So a lot of people think that you're not getting as deep of a stretch. Well, you're not getting that deep of a stretch in your shoulders, but the biceps are phenomenally stretched in this situation. But there's still that second mistake. The key when you're doing it, especially at an angle this steep, is you still want to keep your elbows straight down and you want to keep them behind your body slightly. If you're bringing the weights up and you're bringing the elbows forward, then again, you're cheating yourself because you're minimizing the tension on the biceps. So once again, lock yourself in place, keep your elbows pointed to the ground, a little behind your body, and then you're going to control the weight up and then also control it down. You don't want to use momentum with this exercise either. So really lock yourself in, control the concentric contractions, which is when you're bringing the dumbbells up, flex as hard as possible and lower under control with every rep. That's the second exercise. Now, the third exercise is going to be shoulder presses. So when it comes to shoulder presses, it's going to be similar whether you're doing dumbbell shoulder presses or even barbell shoulder presses. So I'm going to show you two different things, but the biggest issue when it comes to doing any kind of presses is most people allow their elbows to flare out to the sides. So back in the day, see, I've been training for a long time, and in the 80s and 90s, you used to see a lot of people doing behind the neck presses and getting those elbows far back behind your body to create a bigger stretch in your deltoids. Well, yeah, you're going to create a big stretch in your deltoids, but it's also very unsafe for your shoulders. So as I got older and started training more clients, I realized that you don't really need to go to this extreme of a stretch as far as with the elbows being behind your body, because that's very dangerous for your shoulders and it leads to a ton of shoulder injury. So in a minute, you'll notice I'm showing you do want to do a full stretch, but as long as you're using the correct movement pattern. So yes, elbows flaring out to the sides is one of the biggest mistakes. Typically, I just want you to bring your elbows in slightly, like towards the front of your body. Then lock yourself in place. And then here's the other mistake I see people make. Now that the elbow position is in a correct position, you're still using half reps, not going all the way down, not using a full range of motion. So that's going to be crucial. I want to make sure what I'm talking about with a full stretch is as long as your elbows are in the correct position, meaning in front of your body, not to the side or behind your body as they would be with an elbows flared position, doing the correct elbow position is actually going to set yourself up for more success with this exercise because it's going to allow you to get a full range of motion stretch. I like to bring the dumbbells all the way down under control and then press straight back up. Anytime you're doing a pressing motion, it's okay to lift quickly and explosively. However, on the way down, all of the eccentric lifts, control that for 2 to 3 seconds. Each and every rep should be just like that. Now with the Smith machine, or even if you're doing just a regular barbell, it's the same two issues. So elbows flared should never be a thing. You never want to keep your elbows out to your sides or even behind your body as if you were doing a behind the neck press. All right, so always bring those elbows in to keep them safe. I like to depress my shoulders as well to keep them stacked. And you'll notice a full range of motion. Instead of just coming down to my nose, basically, which is what you'll see a lot of people do, I like to hit that upper chest. Nice full stretch and then press all the way back up to the top. So you'll hear a lot of people saying, you don't really need to do full range of motion stuff. You're going to get great benefits just doing half reps. Well, here's the thing. It's not just about muscle growth. That's what I need you to understand. Yeah, you can still get some strength. You can get some muscle growth by doing half reps. However, where the issue is, you're not strengthening the ligaments and the tendons like you should be. They're not used to working at a full range of motion or at the extremes. I like them to be strong at the extremes because it's going to set you up for less injuries as you get older. And take it from someone like me. I've been working out close to 36 years now, a little over 35, and I've been training people for close to 30 as well. And one of the biggest issues is shoulder injuries. And I've seen chest tears and bicep tears and shoulder tears. And it's typically from people that lifted for years without doing full range of motion. And just naturally functional movements typically cause you to get into full range of motion positions, whether you're lifting things, pushing things, whatever it is. And if you're not training in those positions, you're setting yourself up for potential injuries. So yes, make sure you're using a full range of motion. Now, the next one, we're going to still touch on a pressing variation. So we went to shoulder presses and now we're doing bench presses, and the same thing with bench presses, elbows flaring. Anytime you're doing a pressing movement, whether it's straight out in front of you as in a bench press, or slightly above as in an incline press, or even directly overhead with a shoulder press, you need to pay attention to the elbow flare. Make sure you're not flaring those elbows. So bring those out slightly. So that's going to be the one big thing I want you to focus on with this bench press. Also bouncing the weight. So many people are concerned with just lifting heavier weight that they're not really controlling it and not allowing the tension to be placed on the pecs. You're basically just dropping the weight and you're using that bounce to get started back into the concentric phase of the lift. So you're missing out on a lot of tension and a lot of growth benefits. I want you to control the weight. Again, 2 to 3 seconds to lower the weight. That's the eccentric phase of the movement. Control it for 2 to 3 seconds, a 1 second pause at the bottom, and then lift explosively. Do that as a cadence for every single repetition. That is going to give you tremendous benefits. So elbows flaring out, bouncing the bar, and not controlling the eccentric by lowering too fast. Those are really big mistakes. Again, not using a full range of motion as well. A lot of people, again, their goal is to just lift as heavy as possible. They like to ego lift, show people how strong they are. And a lot of the sacrifice is made in the range of motion when you're having to do that. So if you can't really control the weight, touch the belt, touch your chest with the bar, slight pause, and then lift back up, then more than likely the weight is too heavy. So lower the load. All right. And the last thing I do want to point out with one of these is you may not be able to see it really good from this angle, but when you're pressing the weight back up to the top, you don't want to extend your shoulders upwards. So when you're setting yourself up for a bench press position, you'll notice a lot of people depressing their shoulders, squeezing their shoulder blades together. That's a position I like you to maintain. And at the top of the movement, you don't really want to separate your shoulder blades and push too far forward because, again, you're setting your shoulders up for potential injury. So just remember to not push so far to the top. All right. So now we're going to go into another exercise that I see a lot of people making mistakes with, and that's the lateral raise. Couple things with the lateral raise. One, momentum, obviously. So that's a recurring theme with a lot of these mistakes is people using probably weight that's way too heavy. And so they're having to use momentum to initiate the movement or momentum just to be able to push that certain amount of weight. Well, you want to minimize the momentum. So first thing, lower the weight and then make sure you're not swinging the weights up. Second thing is keeping your arms straight. You don't want to keep your arms straight because what happens when you do that is it places tension on your elbows, which is another joint that a lot of people have a lot of irritations with, whether it's medial epicondylitis or lateral epicondylitis, or you probably heard of golfer's elbow or tennis elbow. Well, both of those a lot of times can be caused from lateral raise movements when your arms are straight. So I want you to unlock, place a slight bend in your elbows, and that's going to help. Also, the correct path. A lot of people don't use the correct path or movement pattern when they're lifting the weights up. So basically, you don't want to go straight out to your sides. Similar to an elbow flare, with the other exercises we discussed earlier, you want to bring your elbows forward slightly, and you want to actually bring the dumbbells out in front of your body slightly. So you've got a bend in your elbows and you're using a more forward movement pattern. That's going to be key to doing this exercise correctly. So that's the lateral raise, and we're almost done with these exercises, but as you can tell, there's a lot of mistakes that people make with some of the most basic ones. All right, now let's go into some dumbbell rows. Now there's a lot of different kind of rows. I even see this mistake when people are doing cable rows, unilateral cable rows and things like that. But two big mistakes here. One is rotating the torso, bringing the dumbbells all the way up. So you want to keep your shoulders neutral and don't rotate every time you come back up. Second thing is just turning this into a bicep dominant exercise. A bicep dominant back row is one where you're squeezing the bicep as opposed to doing this correctly where, again, your shoulders are going to be neutral. And what I like to do is bring the dumbbell instead of straight up towards my shoulder, I like to bring it back towards my hip. So back towards the hip as opposed to straight up towards the shoulder. And you're going to notice a big difference with your back working, your lats working, as opposed to your bicep. So that's one of the biggest issues with this exercise. Now that leaves us with the lat pull downs. So with the lat pull downs, there's a few different things I see people do a lot of times. One is obviously just leaning far back. So my gym, this is my gym that I'm working out in. So it's kind of hard to tell because I don't have the standard straight bar. I've actually got the hoist rocket, so there is a slight lean here. But basically what I mean is when you're locking yourself into a lat pull down position, you want to lean back slightly. You don't want to be 100% upright. So it's a slight lean though, and then lock that in place. So you don't want to lean all the way back, which is a way to generate less movement and shorten the range of motion with this exercise. So leaning back excessively is going to engage the upper back muscles, but it's diminishing the activation of the lats. And that's one of the things we're trying to target here. Believe it or not, the lat pull down isn't the best lat exercise, but when you lean back, you're actually removing the lats even more than you want. So that's one of the big things there. The other thing is bringing the bar down too low. So it's hard to tell, and again, with the lat machine that I have, but picture as you're bringing the bar down, you'll notice people coming all the way down to their sternum or the lower chest, that breastbone. You don't want to do that. Typically, I like to go down to the upper chest. Upper chest is going to be a lot better, a lot safer, and it's going to help activate your back more. But also in a similar mistake is bringing the bar too far out in front of your body. So what I like to think about when I'm doing a lat pull down, driving down with your elbows and then keeping your arms stacked. So when you come down, you want your wrist and your elbows basically to be in alignment. So that's one of the best ways to think about doing this correctly, because what you'll see a lot of times is people pull down, 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 and the closer they get down to their chest, their elbows start going behind their body, but their wrists start going forward. So you're bringing your forearm more into a parallel situation, more parallel to the ground, as opposed to a vertical. It's going more horizontal, and you want to keep it more vertically stacked. That's going to help you get all of your back muscles more activated with this exercise. And then again, just not using a full range of motion. That's another one that is crucial with most exercises. If the weight's too heavy, you'll see a lot of people coming down here and they're barely getting to their chin or they're barely getting to their nose. And I like to drive the elbows down and back. Really squeeze the lats, really squeeze your back with every single repetition, and then control the eccentric. So the raising of the weight here. So pinch really hard on the way down, get that really good contraction, squeeze it at the bottom, and then 2 to 3 second cadence on the way back up. Do that with every single repetition, and you're gonna get phenomenal results. All right, man, thanks so much for watching this video. And again, I had fun making it because there's a lot of different exercises that I was able to go over, and hopefully you can see everything I wanted you to see. So again, the format of this video was slightly different. I'm thinking about doing a similar video, but taking you to the gym, turning my mic on, and then walking you through each and every exercise, one mistake at a time. The only reason I didn't do that this time is because I did do something similar with 3 exercises several years back. Man, that was a 15-minute video. So I am a long-winded talker. I'm an educator by nature. I love teaching how to do things correctly. So if I'm doing 7 exercises, it may be a long video. But if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video though, but there are just different exercises you want me to break down for you, I would love to do that as well. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Also, I do want to ask, if you find value in my videos, you've gotten any help at all from any of my videos, and please share this with some of your friends and family members. I am really trying to grow this channel so I can continue to pump out a ton of content for you guys. With that being said, thanks so much for watching this video. And as always, get busy, get after it, and God bless.